So I'm in the market for a better bike, a bigger bike, not a better bike. And that brought me out to Bend, Oregon today. I'm going to be testing the Pivot Firebird. I've been salivating over this thing for quite some time, and I'm so excited to try it out. I'm going to do a shootout between this bike and the Santa Cruz Nomad and the evil Wreckoning. I'm throwing the Wreckoning in the mix, even though it's a 29er, but I think it's similar travel, has similar geometry and sizing. So it should be pretty fun. I got 3 days of riding. I get to ride each bike each day, and I'm gonna film it along the way. So I hope you guys enjoy. Sagebrush Cycles, Bend, Oregon. Pretty much got everything you need. Oh yeah. Is there any other way? Pedaling this bike uphill is really nice. You start pedaling this thing and there's almost zero bob. It feels so good. And then when you start descending, it just rails it. Yeah, that's where this bike excels. Oh, big drop, big drop. Woo! Yeah. Oh. Woo! Oh man, the flow is real, and this bike feels so good. Woo! Yeah. Oh! Yes! Yeah! This bike feels good in the air. Back at Sagebrush Cycles. If you're ever in the Bend area and you need to rent a pivot, this is the place to come. Yeah. The Nomad feels good. This is definitely a much lighter bike than what I had yesterday. It does feel a little squirrelier on this loose. The VPP suspension really pins it. It jumps well, it's nimble. I think this is just as capable of a bike as the Pivot. The Pivot was outfitted with XTR. This is all SRAM Eagle, and I like the Shimano better. So one thing I noticed about this bike is that on the long flats, it doesn't perform as well as the Pivot. It bobs a lot on the high power, the really high torque pushes. That might be why the Pivot felt so much faster than this bike. Like this section, when I'm really anchoring down on it, it really feels bobby. It is just stealing my power. And then I have the Evil Wreckoning on Monday. Yeah. So
I reckon you'll have fun on that.
I reckon I'm gonna shovel some stuff. It's gonna be I'm on the Evil Wreckoning today, 6.5 inch travel 29er, and this thing soaks everything up. It definitely feels like a really big bike. I'm so excited to get into something heavy because this bike is fun, and for as big as it is, it's playful. See what this Wreckoning can do. Plow right up the boulder field. This thing doesn't play around. It just attacks everything. Woo! This bike feels so plush around the chunky stuff. And the travel doesn't soak up the pedaling. I really can't tell much of a difference between the 29er and the 27.5, aside from just the fact that it's a little harder to corner with this bike, but not too much. Woo! Nice line.
Yeah,
Whoa! Whoa! Yeah. Woo! Yeah. This bike attacks it. Woo-hoo-hoo! Yeah. Let's try it. Coming over. Yeah, that's the one. That is the one right there. Ah, so big. Ah, yes. Oh, someone call a plow service? Here comes the Wreckoning. Yes.
So I'm out here at Crow's Feet Bikes, and if you're looking to demo a Da Vinci or a Evil in Bend, Oregon, this is the place to come.
There's a few things that I would like to elaborate on that I wasn't able to capture in the video. The Pivot Firebird was a flawlessly operating machine, and all of that was attributed to the way that Sagebrush Cycles set it up for me. They took my rider weight and really dialed it in, and also they took into mind the way that I like to ride, and they asked me questions of what I would be riding. And that's part of the reason why I had such a great time on this bike, is because it was set up so well. The DX2 rear and the 36 factory front operated flawlessly and handled the way that I would actually set up my bike, so it didn't feel like a rental. This was a medium-sized frame, and I'm 5'11", 180 pounds, and it fit perfect. The Santa Cruz Nomad was a large frame, but Santa Cruz bikes run kind of small, so the large fit me perfect, and actually it was pretty comparable to the size of the Pivot. I got the Nomad from Pine Mountain Sports, and they gave the bike to me in just piss poor condition. The brakes were in need of desperate service. I think it needed new pads in the rear. The seat post was in need of a bleed. The shocks weren't even set to my rider weight. And what it equated to is that I spent a good hour and a half tuning the bike before I even got out to ride it, and that wasn't a very pleasing time. I think some of the Nomad's shortfalls could be resolved just by putting a Fox DX2 in the rear, and maybe using a Lyric front or even the Fox Factory 36 front. The Wreckoning was set up perfectly for me. Carson at Crow's Feet really dialed in the suspension, and it just felt flawless. However, Evil's recommendation for me is to ride a size medium frame, and this was a size large, so I found it a little big and cumbersome, but it was still enjoyable to ride, and it climbed like a goat. It jumped really well and felt really good in the air. Another side note on the Wreckoning's size, and I don't know if it has to do with the large frame in comparison to the medium, but it definitely portrays as sluggish on video if you go back and review the difference between the Firebird and the Wreckoning. And I'm curious to know if that's because of the frame size, if it would be a little more light on its feet with different parts and a medium-sized frame for me.